Get strong.
Pull on your pajamas, here comes band miss. There's so many cardboard candidates to choose for the band hammers. Band misses, the format cutting rod. Instead of one line stepper, we'll ban 8 crazy cards. When you feel like you're the only kid in town without for Ragavan, here's a list of cards that are problematic that we'd sure like to ban. Allosaurus Shepherd, light it on fire. Grizzlebrand and Urza Saga, join it on the pyre. Guess who gets launched into the EDH sun? Bane of Progress and Tazova on Very Fun. Cyclonic Rift's a problem. Wheel of Fortune too. You know what, while you're at it, throw in Opposition Agent too. Don't need Ristic Study to smother all the tides. These must-have stifle creative and innovative deck design. Both banned. Put on your pajamas. It's time for Bandmiss. These products are only for bananas, so celebrate Bandmiss. Sensei's Divining Talk. Unban it when. Guess who else? Let's take a minute and look at Loris of the Dream Den. They killed Ren in 6. And why not Past in Flames? Yogwill was already banned. Aren't they all just the same? Some people agree that Oko Thief of Crown should. Well, he is. But guess who ain't? Oro is too good. Isn't, but Yorion, we'll see. Tell your friend Seamus it's time to celebrate Bandmiss. I hope you're not a Krampus. And it's lovely, lovely Bandmiss. So drink your grape Fantas and smoke up all your cannabis. If you really, really wanna have a happy Bandmiss. Happy Bandmiss. Nuke the format.
Hello and welcome to Eternal Durdles. I'm your host, Zach Clark, and with me as always, Phil Bleckman. Phil, how's it going, man?
Happy Asmore Namartica Dicina Koldakar to you, sir. Good to be back.
Right back at you with that Asmore Namartica Dicina Koldakar. Yeah, man, this is going to be an interesting episode, as you probably heard in the with the intro song. We're talking about the 8 crazy bands. Right, 8 cards that we think that could see play, and we think there will be a lot of them. And why is that, Phil?
So our idea here as to why we're going to talk about this. Now, this isn't necessarily an episode where we're going to talk about bands like, oh, what we think should go, what we think needs to go. This is less so a band discussion of like a normal ban hammer episode, and more they said before Eternal Weekend that they would take a look at the format, look at the results, and then take action if they felt that they would need it. So far, they have not communicated at all what they think after seeing the data from Eternal Weekend. So we think that rather than them neglecting the format, we think they're putting more time into what the format needs. And so they're looking beyond just the obvious cards that should go. What else needs to go to actually change up the format in such a way where decks are more diverse and there are more things to do, and really just a nice refresher that it seems like everybody's longing for. And obviously
this
we turn
product
to
is for you, if you will.
Yeah, we turned to our buddy Adam Sandler for inspiration. Adam Sandler is a common listener of the pod, so we figured we, would give him a shout out here. And
he was in Philly recently, actually.
Yeah. You hung out with Adam.
Shooting a
How
new
was
movie.
that? What's he playing these days?
Well, first off, let me just say that Adam Sandler dresses like he's going to a Magic tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. He is one of us. He's absolutely one of us.
It's wintertime. He's wearing basketball shorts. That's just how it is.
That's how it is. And he is also sleeving up him to Turox. He just really wants to 2-for-1 some people.
Yep. That's him. He plays goats, actually.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, I haven't seen Tribal Goats in a while, but Trading Post needs some action. So
yeah,
Trading Post actually does make goats for all of you listeners out there.
It does make goats.
It does make goats. So
it's Trading Post, the first Planeswalker.
Trading Post was the OG Planeswalker design, right? Yeah, it's just a 4-mana spell that draws a card, it makes a thing, it can potentially win a game. It was Planeswalker time.
I lost to that right before I met my wife. I was playing a M13 sealed tournament.
Bro, whomst amongst us has not lost a game to Trading Post?
Yep. It was the last round before they cut the top 8, and I lost to Hugh Kramer, who I thought I got him because I was like, haha, I'm gonna sign and blood you. You're at 2 life, and he was like, I will gain 3 life or 4 life, whatever that card does. As you do. And he drew 2 extra cards. Yeah. Because I signed and blooded him.
Yeah.
And then he went and proceeded to win the game.
That feels really good when your opponent just lets you draw 2 cards and you don't die, right? Yeah, it's really nice. It's excellent. Yeah. So shout out to Hugh. Hugh is also a common listener of the podcast, obviously.
Yep.
So let's dive in, bro. You got the list ready?
Yeah. So let's start out with number 1. Urza Saga is gonna go, right?
I mean, it's obviously got to go, right? If they're looking at cards that the format needs to change. I mean, it is a card that just does way too much for too little. I actually think that, of all of the cards, let me just state for the record here that I think the format is, if they left it alone, it's fine. The format is fine. Could it be better? Sure. But power creep is with us forever. Unless they actually deal with the inherent problems of the format, perfect mana, cantrips, free counter spells. I mean, all of this stuff is, we're looking at it through a much more shallow lens than I think the format would need to actually make it feel any different than you would otherwise have for banning any amount of cards that aren't those problems. So beyond that, though, Urza Saga does it all. And Urza Saga also means that every artifact that's 0 mana or 1 mana they ever print here henceforth will have to be viewed through the lens of what if you can tutor it uncounterable for free via Urza Saga. And I feel like similar to the Aether Flux Marvel idea, where they were like, wow, we printed this card and now every 7 mana plus spell has to be viewed through the lens of what if you cast it at instant speed for 4 mana instead. It's the exact same thing with this kind of tutor that's incidentally playable in aggro combo and control decks. So obviously, Urza Saga.
Yeah, it stifles design. It asks very little of deck building, right?
If anything, it enables you to play a bunch of stuff. Otherwise, it's just a free package that you get to play in your deck, pretty much. Yeah, it's also one of those things too. It's interesting in Modern, Urza Saga sees play in a couple of different kinds of decks, but it doesn't have any 1 mana artifact that you can get that's a threat the way that we do in Legacy. So in Legacy, you have obviously Retrofitter Foundry. If you want to get more cute, you can tutor up things like Phyrexian Dreadnought and try and stifle it because some decks already play Stifle anyway. But in Modern, they just don't have threats. And so the decks that Urza Saga is contained to are fewer than, I mean, obviously you have Wrenn and 6 in that format, so it's a little bit different. But the fact that Urza Saga can tutor threats means that any cool, trinkety sort of artifact that's printed in the future, well, what if it were free and you can pull it out of your deck and it runs away with the game? Yep. So Urza Saga is the first 8 crazy cards.
Yep. I would say it also has to go because if we unban Sensei's Divining Top, that's too much, man.
It's too much. It's way too much. Honestly, too. Like, how flavorful would it be if Urza Saga, the card named after its namesake, is banned?
Yeah,
makes total sense to me. That entire block needed to go.
The whole block.
The whole block.
They got like 8 or 9 cards in that block. Used to be that if you opened a pack from that block, you had a 15% chance of being able to send it back to Wizards for a new pack.
Okay, see, that's what we need to do. Just cycle them back to WotC. Okay, take the over under when the Brothers War comes out in Q4 of 2022. How many broken one-mana artifacts will be in that set? Not because they are inherently broken, but because they will work with Urza Saga.
Over under on how many? What's the number?
Over under 2.5.
Ooh. Over if we're counting all formats.
Yes, all formats counts. Over. Okay, you heard it here first. I by default have to take the under. That way there's some stakes here. But we'll flash forward when we do a holiday episode in 2022. We'll know. There you go.
I'll buy you one of these wonderful Merry Monkey beers that I've got here by Victory.
There you go. And as an alcoholic, I can appreciate it.
All right. Number 2, Ragavan.
So how do you feel about the monkey after it's been in the format for 6 months?
I'm ambivalent about it, but I think that here's the thing. Here's the only reason why I dislike this card. Aside from the fact that it hits your opponent's library and like gets stuff off your opponent's library, which is super annoying for so many reasons. The fact that it makes a treasure token on top of that doesn't just have to be used on that card. Like it can be used for anything. That's the issue I have with this card. Is it's a mana dork, dude.
Yeah. It is one of those things, I think, to the pressures of the format. Again, cantrips, free counter spells that make it pretty easy to connect with a Ragavan for the most part. I can tell you, having played Modern, I know a bunch of other Legacy players have been dabbling in Modern. Ragavan is like a 7 in that format. It's obviously good when it's good, but it is mediocre a lot, and you board it out a lot. And just because of how the makeup of the format is such that if you play it on one and they have a removal spell, it is guaranteed to hit the graveyard. You know, it's like you can just put a blocker in front of it, and a lot of the time you're playing a deck where they're not going to be able to convert some amount of easy card advantage on you or cheap threats on you. And that has to do with the makeup of the format. So it's like Ragavan is doing a lot of work to highlight the other sins in the format. And it's it's a shame that we got to punish the monkey, but man, is the target big on our little marsupial.
I'm going to throw a curveball at you. I mentioned a card we did not go over in this, but it plays into your most recent point, and the reason why Ragavan is not as good in Modern. Number 3, Days. Yeah, I think that.
I mean, we've had the long discussion on Days.
Yep.
Easy pick here for our 8 crazy bands. Free counter spell, but it's free in that it trades. It doesn't trade down in card parity. It trades for time, and decks can exploit that. It's
especially if you're getting a free mana every turn.
A free mana every turn. The other side is, free spells also naturally work with like a bunch of broken cards too. Just any free card to turn on a DRC trigger, a Young Peasy trigger. I mean, Young Peasy's been pushed out recently, but any of that type of stuff. I mean, free is always busted, right? The difference is you don't have to go down a card to do it. It's just a free exchange, so it exacerbates the die roll really steeply. We did a breakdown. If you haven't listened to the previous episode where we talked about bans, but the makeup of the format is such that the 50% of decks play like Force of Will, Ponder, Brainstorm, and then the next most played cards are like fetch lands, and then it's Days, and then you drop off further before you get to any of the threats that are in Blue Red Delver. So it's because Days is in both Blue Red Delver and a bunch of combo decks, whether it's Show and Tell or Doomsday. So it has the most ubiquitous of all of the cards that would seem like they are not the untouchables, if you will. But I also think that there's an argument to be made for getting rid of Ponder and therefore Preordain if people really wanted to have a different feel of the format. So, and me even talking about Ponder going is making Zach crack another one open. He's got
I'm like, here we go.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean, Days has also been in that debate.
Shout out to my wife for bringing me a bottle opener because I didn't have one.
It'll get the shout out. So so far in the hypothetical overhaul of the format that WotC is planning to do come Monday after you hear this episode, Days will be on that list.
Yep. Okay. Allosaurus Shepherd die in a fire.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because like Allosaurus Shepherd is only in one deck now. Granted, if they were looking at the EU stats, like oh man, did elves crush EU?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, or I'm saying EU, EW. Eternal Weekend was absolutely dominated by elves.
There's a lot of people playing elves in the European Union.
I just know I'm so cool in my own head because EU spells ew that I always just in my mind I always think about it that way.
We're just adding another U to it. It's double U.
There you go. Yeah, EW. Elves had an insane turnout that weekend, winning one of them, putting a crazy amount in top eights. And I think it's really on the back that you have this card that makes it so your opponent can't interact with you outside of one particular axis. And it's also a win condition.
For the people who didn't follow Eternal Weekend, how many were in the top 8?
Let me double check right now so I don't actually give you the wrong answer. I do know that there were several mirrors in the first top 8. I know that Eternal Weekend Bayou Painting was won by elves. So let me just take a quick look here.
Let's find out because I haven't delved into the results yet.
So I was following it was funny when following the top 8s for the events, everybody was expecting Blue Red Delver to just like run rampant on the 3 events, right? And then the first format is just dominated by elves. So elves put up 1, 2, 3 in the top 8 and 1 of the first of the Bayou event. So it won the Bayou event. Oddly enough, there was only one Blue Red Delver in the top 8. It was only one of 2 in the top 16. 8 cast, the artifact deck actually had more top 8 cast, and elves had more in the top 16 than Blue Red Delver did in the first event.
8 cast is a deck that I think I might really like to play. But if we're getting rid of Urza Saga, I don't want to go investing anytime soon.
I mean, I think that Urza Saga is obviously as a pillar of the format, and going long, it will create problems. It will make other cards problems that otherwise would not have been problems.
Yeah.
It just does so much, right? It's just like you can or cannot use the mana to just make like 10 power plus a tutor. So obviously it is overpowered for what it does. Overpowered for legacy, maybe not. But I also wonder if 8 cast was a deck that we could have been playing the whole time, and it just wasn't put together until Urza Saga came along. Obviously, Urza Saga is a huge boon to that deck.
The other part of 8 cast is Thought Monitor.
Right. No, I'm saying that like with Thought Monitor, would we still be able to play 8 cast even if we didn't have Urza Saga?
Probably, yeah.
I don't know if the power level is there, but you would get maybe you can get something back like actual Urza.
Creating being an artifact land and creating a
it's an enchantment
artifact.
Land. It's an enchantment land. Enchantment land, not an artifact.
Creating an artifact.
Yeah,
and then being able to tap for mana as well, right? Basically produces 2 mana for those casts. Because the 8 cast is Thought Cast and Thought Monitor are the 8 cast.
Yeah, the fact that it makes at minimum, let's say you cast no other artifacts, you just make 2 bodies and tutor something. It made 2 3/3s. Yeah, because it also anthems your board, and then depending on what you get. So I mean. Urza Saga, obviously, on our 8 crazy ban cards list, but yeah, elves dominated that first event. I'll look up the other 2 while we move on to the next card.
The next card is number 5, Tef 3.
So, we should probably speak why Allosaurus Shepherd.
Teferi 3.
Why Allosaurus Shepherd should go anyway. Allosaurus Shepherd just makes it so that your opponent can't interact with you, right? So it just shuts off interaction. It's less so like it picks up one deck, right? Allosaurus Shepherd has seen no play in any other deck. It's not like when it says green cards on it as opposed to just elves, it could just say elves, right? It doesn't need to say green cards because no other green deck is actually utilizing it. So it's only elves.
We would be lamenting that it didn't say green cards, because you might be able to use it in another deck had it actually said elves. You could probably use this as card to get green cards.
He just says green cards. Yeah. I mean, if you played against it and it didn't make your natural orders and glimpse of nature's uncounterable, maybe it's less of a thing. But the fact that you can't, it itself can't be countered, and then makes it so that it just blanks any type of like that whole axis of interaction. It just makes it so that games are not fun. Like cutting off interaction is just it creates bad gameplay. It creates unreplayable gameplay. I mean, I have never enjoyed a game where Allosaurus Shepherd has come down. Now, in that same token, same thing with Teferi 3. I'm not an Elves player, but I have played many a blue-white control deck, and I've cast many a Teferi in my time. And I can tell you, at least from my experience, I assume from everybody else's, I have never enjoyed a game where Teferi came down, whether my opponent or I played it. It's just not an enjoyable experience because it just limits what you can do. It limits the game that you're allowed to play, and the fact that it's one. If it were symmetrical, sure, but the fact that it's asymmetrical, it makes it extremely unenjoyable to play. And games, I feel like games that were interesting or could be interesting are stripped of that because Teferi is part of it. So
I think it being if it were symmetrical, it would be unplayable. Like there's no way you wouldn't even try to play it. You wouldn't build a deck around it. You wouldn't do any of that.
I think it's powerful enough as like, okay, it's a City of Solitude that's also a draw engine to remove, troublesome things on the board. I still think that you would see a world where it's like, okay, neither player can play on the stack, which means that instead of it being just incidentally a draw engine in control decks, right? It's just like another thing that you can slam from Fire Design, and you can back it up with force and your opponent never gets to play anymore. If it were symmetrical, you would actually have to build toys around it where you go, okay, if I can't play on the stack, and I'm building my deck around this card, then I probably don't want to put counter magic in my deck. I probably, need less instants in my deck.
I mean, the answer would be you just play like Infect or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, the downside too is that like Teferi says that your opponents can't play on that axis, and then also lets you +1 to play on that axis. So I don't know. The card as a design on the whole is, I mean, it incidentally turning off a bunch of shit that I don't imagine was their intention in design. Like, did you think that they wanted it to turn off Cascade?
No, I don't think they did.
It turns off a bunch of mechanics just incidentally because of how the stack works. Now, granted, I understand not very many people know what the stack is. The majority of players.
The stack is a mystery to me.
But I think I don't think anybody like Teferi isn't the foundation of any deck, the same way that Allosaurus Shepherd isn't the foundation of Elves. And even though Elves gets a huge boon from it, I don't think anybody really is going to. People will still be able to play Elves without Allosaurus Shepherd, and every single deck that has Teferi isn't going to lose much by Teferi not being around. It just will make it so that any of those games in the future where people don't get to have fun or play the game that they actually signed up to play don't happen. So get those on the 8 crazy bands.
8 crazy bands. Number 6, Personal Vendetta for me is Grizzlebrand. That card. I'm gonna let you take this one. That card needs to go. We have so many interesting targets for reanimation, so many cool targets for reanimation, and people will never play them because Grizzlebrand exists, and it's infinitely better than any of those other targets. We got Archon of Cruelty just came out. Looks so cool. That angel that targets you choose a spell type.
Sarah's emissary?
Yes.
Choose
Sarah's emissary. Type. Yeah. Those are so cool, but they will never get played because Grizzlebrand exists. We need 4 format diversity to remove Grizzlebrand. It's not gonna. It's just gonna be. It's gonna knock down pegs a little bit for some decks like Sneak and Show. Which, seriously, do you need help on you're gonna cast Grizzlebrand and then cast Emrakul after you get Grizzlebrand out? Get out of here. Get out of here.
I think there are enough.
Too.
There's enough fatties in the format that if you cheat them into play, I'm sure you'll still find a way to win.
Yeah.
I think everybody's going to be okay. Also, I mean, pour one out for the other 3 demons that Liliana signed a contract with, right? Like, how many people out there can actually? Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. You got one. Can you name the other 2?
Obnixilis?
No, Obnixilis is a planeswalker. So Obnixilis is a demon that had a spark, lost the spark, and got it back.
Got it back.
But that has nothing to do with Liliana.
Yeah. Okay.
You got Demon Lord Belzenlock.
Belzenlock, Grizzlebrand, The one from Kamigawa, I forget his name.
From Kamigawa?
Right? Wasn't it the one from
No.
Kamigawa?
No.
No, I don't know, man. That's what that is, Phil. That's new trivia. I know old trivia.
Okay, so there's
By new trivia, I
Razaketh.
mean like, in the last 20 years.
There's Razaketh,
Of course, Razaketh.
of course. Bells and Lock,
Yep.
which you got. Grizzlebrand, and you want to take a stab at the final one?
Can you name a set? Give me a set.
So it was actually the last one wasn't a mythic. This was the one of the cycle that was only a rare, and it was a rare in Origins. Please, everybody out there, don't ask me why I know this stuff. I follow the lore. I enjoy this
rare
stuff.
in Origins. Oh,
Yeah.
Chain Veil, the demon guy.
Close. The Chain Veil was a particular thing of magic that you used to curse Garrick.
Yes,
Underlay.
I know. I have no idea.
Kothafed.
What?
Kothafed is a 6/6 that doesn't do anything nearly as powerful as Grizzlebrand.
I feel like Kothafeth is the one I thought was the.
If this helps,
one.
So do you know the alternate artwork Demonic Tutor that has Liliana on it?
Yeah. So yeah, that is exactly what I thought it was, but I thought it was. I thought that was from Kamigawa or something.
So the demon in that artwork with Liliana is Kothafed.
Cool.
So there you go. There's your trivia, everybody. I mean, everybody's gonna have a better awareness of those demons being the ones that Liliana signed her contract with, because they're doing a secret lair of specifically those 5 cards. So we're all gonna get a refresher.
Secret lair, unplayable demons, and Grizzlebrand.
Secret lair, Grizzlebrand, and unplayables. Now, granted, like the other demons are houses in EDH, obviously. Bells and Lock.
Yeah, Bells and Lock is a deck like you literally can win if you can cast him on, like, you just play like ways to cast Bells and Lock, and he like immediately wins the game.
Interestingly enough, there is like a B-rated Grizzlebrand in Villas that doesn't really see play because Grizzlebrand is
great.
Better,
you can play him in Carrick, the son of Yawgmoth.
Yep. I mean, the Villas in Reanimator, it's like if you reanimate Villas, it has the text of whenever you lose life, draw that many cards. And when it ETBs off of, or when it is in play off of a reanimate, it does see the 8 life that you lose. So you will just draw 8 naturally. So if you reanimate a Villas, it is functionally similar to reanimating Grizzlebrand and then paying the life.
I'm just saying, man.
Gives you 1 more card for half of the life.
Financially, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Watch Villas skyrocket. Buy your Villases now before Monday, guys, because they're banning Grizzlebrand on Monday.
Before WotC goes on their 8 crazy ban streak, because they have to appeal to. I mean, honestly, like they need.
Do not take any financial advice from me or Phil on Magic the Gathering.
Think about it like this.
It's not a good idea.
When Post Malone is squaring off in the Arena Championship against Adam Sandler, not playing Grizzlebrand, you're going to be like, "Wow, these guys fucking nailed it."
Yo. We really need to get Post Malone on the cast.
Post Malone's already a very active listener of the cast. What's up, Austin? Yeah.
We would just call that particular post. We would just call that the Malone Pod.
Yeah, get a little posty. I mean, also, like, I don't want to speak for Post, because I mean he can speak for himself. Obviously, he's a recording artist. He can literally just hop on the track anytime he wants.
Are we not recording artists? Are we not getting paid to record musical parodies for the masses?
It is true. I mean, it is true. Let's just confirm that Post also agreed with all of our A Crazy Band speculations.
Oh yeah.
So,
he chimed in for sure.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, like we do have the celebrity backing on this list. So, happy holidays.
Let's move on to 7. And speaking of Chain Veil, we're talking Veil of Summer.
Yeah. Same thing, right? Veil of Summer just puts so much pressure. I mean, there's a whole nother swath of cards in addition to Veil that's actually putting the pressure on why Black is seemingly unplayable in this format beyond a splash for like Baleful Strix. But Veil of Summer, man, did they really get loosey-goosey with the words draw a card on that one. It just didn't need to do that. If it just didn't have the draw card on it and be just a Nutter Butter hoser for 40% of the color buy, I think they recognized that it was a mistake by banning it from literally every other format that isn't Vintage. So, hey, you want to take the pressure off. The only deck that plays it right now are control mirrors, if they're playing green and are even interested in it at this point, and then specifically the Epic Storm. And, it's like, I feel like there are enough silences that if that's what the Epic Storm wants to be doing, they could do it.
Yeah. So wait, are we banning this or not banning this?
Oh, Vela Summer's got on the 8 Crazy Nights. It's got to go. It's got to get out of here.
8 Crazy Nights. All right. Hey, how about Oro, Titan of Nature's Wrath? Nature of Titan's Wrath? How is it said?
Titan of Nature's Wrath. Yeah, your best friend and mine. All right, let's talk a little bit about Bane Drifters. There is a colloquial term in our lovely game called the Bane Drifter, where a card both draws cards and is a dominant threat that takes over the board. A combination of Baneslayer Angel, a 5/5 with protection from demons and dragons with first strike and lifelink that in its heyday was a $50 mythic that came down and controlled the board. And
also known as Wallet Slayer Angel.
Wallet Slayer Angel. And then you also take Mold Drifter, our lovable elemental that you can evoke for a divination's worth of mana to get a divination's worth of cards. Now, if you were to slap them together, you would get something very close to what exactly Uro Titan of Nature's Wrath is.
Divination.
Which, so the issue with Bane Drifters is that they do it all, and so it pushes out anything that isn't also a Bane Drifter. So why would you play only a Bane Slayer and then also play only a Mold Drifter when you could just play a Bane Drifter? So Uro, now for what it's worth, at a legacy power level, now that Astrolabe is gone, and there actually is some mana constraints on double blue, double green to escape it from the yard. Is it legacy power level? Sure. We've seen it. It seems like it's totally fine. But what Uro does do is it oppresses any deck that can't fight on both axes the way that Uro does. And Uro is such a contained package that you can then play all of the other good cards around it. So if you wanted to play any type of synergy-based deck, you would simply get buried by Uro decks because they don't have to spend any other slots on tools that would control the game and go up cards. Uro does it all.
Well, the thing with Uro is that, like, why would you not play it if you're playing that kind of deck? That's 4 cards that you've already knocked out as far as coming up with an idea of what to play. You're definitely playing Uro, right?
I think that the constraint that Uro does on particularly black cards. So there's been the ongoing discussion of how black is unplayable outside of certain splashes for like Plague Engineer, Baleful Strix. But black removal between Uro and the printing of Prismatic Ending, which we can get into, that black is not the best color for removal. White is, because it has Swords to Plowshares and Prismatic Ending now. I would argue black was never the best removal color. Like, you can argue you had Assassin's Trophy and Abrupt Decay. That meant you were in Golgari.
Yeah.
But white has always been the best removal in Legacy, not because black doesn't have, enough options between like Snuff Out and Fatal Push, but specifically because the threats that black can't beat are because the removal can't interact with them. Black removal sucks against Uro because Uro just doesn't give a shit. And then Merit Lage also exists in this format. So the text of like all of the removal in black, it's not that the removal isn't efficient enough or versatile enough. It's that all of it destroys instead of exiles. If there was a black removal spell that said exile, then maybe Uro wouldn't be such a problem for it. But if you've ever had to line up a Fatal Push against an Uro, you're losing that game. And it's not going to be close. So Uro, I think, is the biggest application as to why black has ceased to really be a main color in a deck. Because before, you could make some concessions against Merit Lage between edicts. Maybe if you're in blue, you can play Brazen Bar, what have you. But now that both Merit Lage, so lands decks, et cetera, and fair decks and control decks playing Uro. All right, so now there's a good portion of a multitude of different decks that are just going to shit on black removal. I think that it would be totally fine for all of the cards that can't see play because Uro exists. And there's a lot of cool cards. the new slime that came out. That's like the Slogurk, whatever. There's a lot of the same way that Grizzlebrand oppresses all of the other Reanimator targets that you can play. Uro is going to suppress all of the other like mid-range threats that you could play in your control mid-range decks, because it just does it. It does everything, and it does it better than everything else. And in order for them to match it with something, means that they would have to print something better than what Uro already is, which I fear to think about. So for the similar arguments that Grizzlebrand is on our 8 crazy nights, so is Uro. Get that shit out of here.
All right, here's number 8. Number 8?
I mean, you got it. There it is.
There it is. Number 8. Yorion.
So Yorion is in place of the companion mechanic. It's currently the only real companion you can play in Legacy. Yep. This is less so a slight at Yorion itself and more so just a slight at companion in general.
No. I slight Yorion. It's not doing anything interesting, man. That isn't. You're just making 80 card decks that have like basically the same card in them. Like you're just choosing the same card to be slightly a different card, and you're filling your deck full of tutors. Get out of here with that shit, man. Come on. Don't pretend like Death and Taxes isn't the exact same deck, but gets an extra free card in its opening hand. That's horseshit. Continue talking about companions, though. That's important. But I'm just saying, this 80 card deck shit is just it's not innovation.
I feel like you and I sound like we're disagreeing, even though we're not.
No, we're definitely agreeing here, 100%.
Yeah, I think that Yorion as a card, like 5 mana, blink your whole board. I think it would be interesting to see if that type of thing was actually powerful enough in a D&T deck without, or really any deck, without like Alurin or whatever, without the need for companion. Like, is it too much? Maybe. Like, maybe you need to be like a 4-mana 3/4 that does the same thing to like actually get in range, but maybe not. I don't know. But it's pretty obvious that like companion was obviously a mistake from the get-go. It was too powered for the effects that you were getting. And Luris right now, in Modern at least, it's literally combo versus Luris versus Murktide. That's the format. You have some argument that like Kahira also in control decks and the elemental decks like sees room, but in that case, it's literally just a colored spell that you can put from into your hand for free and pitch cast something. Luris is actually the one that you're going to put onto the board and is going to run away with the game, and that would happen in Legacy too. The thing is that Luris is an extremely powerful card that would probably see play as just a 3-mana 3/2 with its main text, even without the companion text in Legacy. Like I'm sure there would be decks that would just play Luris in their main board, backed by a Caracas, recurring their baubles or whatever. And it would be fine. It would be interesting. There would be some contention there between it versus all of the other 3-drops that are powerful in Legacy. But with companion text, it's too much. And I think it would be interesting if they've already errated companion, just say that companions are banned in Legacy. You can play companion cards, just not as companions.
You can't use the companion rules text.
And then the same thing if like Zerta came off the ban list. If you can't just put it into your hand for free to make all of your artifacts literally cost nothing to activate, then if you had to spend 3 mana to do it, you probably still can combo out. But maybe you can't combo out as quickly.
Yeah.
Gyruda?
I'm into it.
I mean, Gyruda, you can't like LED it for free. Good. You know? Yeah. Like maybe there could still be combos there. I mean, people play Gyruda in their main boards with the Gyruda companion if they're trying to one-shot people now anyway. I just think that like they recognize the companion is a mistake, and yet we're still like lingering with that mistake, and they're probably not going to do any more companions in the future.
To me, the whole companion thing is like they were trying really hard to make the year of Commander like be a real thing and like really stamp their foot down as far as like what design could do, and they swung for the fences and literally like shot a cannon. You know, like,
I'm all for them taking those big swings.
Oh, I love it.
And like missing, like I'm totally cool with having like those month and a half, 2 months where they're like, we took the biggest swing we could think of because we thought it would be cool. It was clearly a train wreck. We're going to course correct real quick. please accept that we're going to do this and take those swings because that keeps things fun and interesting. All for that.
Yeah, I mean, when I interviewed Chris Cox about like what they were doing with design, he said we're going to take big swings, and I love that. I'd rather that than like just reprinting divination constantly. You know?
Yeah,
like no one needs
great
that.
to take those swings. I feel like with Companion, they half-stepped. They were like, okay, some are banned. We're going to errata the whole mechanic and then figure it out. And, Luris will be banned in Vintage and then unbanned in Vintage to restricted. And then in Legacy, it'll stay banned. But like, we're going to ban it without actually trying out the new errated version of it in the format. It's like Luris never got a chance. Granted, I still think Luris would be a problem as a companion, even with the 3-mana up front. That being said, I think it's like an interesting card that I doubt they're going to print that kind of text again on a threat for a while. That isn't a companion, and that's a shame because I think it would have been cool for mainly black-white decks. I think it would be cool if they just reprinted Luris without the mechanic, the companion mechanic, as one white-black, because hybrid mana is way closer to colorless mana than we realize.
Yeah, it's very close. So
it's very close.
So we've talked about our eight crazy brands. We actually mentioned 9 cards. I think I didn't count one of them. Who cares? 8 crazy
it's
bands.
Crazy,
right? We talked about Cardu and unban. I'll give you time on the clock, 30 seconds to talk about Sensei's Dividing Top.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Sensei's Dividing Top, with as long as Urza Saga's around, there's no way it can come back. I think for power level purposes, it could come back, but it's at the same time, I feel like a lot of people, for some reason, remember it as a net negative on the format because of how it interacted with Counterbalance. But I also think that it hindered a lot of other decks that wanted selection, that if they weren't playing blue, they found that they could manipulate the top of their library and have selection and Sensei's Dividing Top. I think something like that, a card that's akin to Sensei's Dividing Top that could give other decks that aren't blue selection, even if it's not as good, right? You have to go down a card by putting it onto the table. If you want to continue getting that selection, you have to put mana into it every turn. It's obviously powerful. I think they could come out with something that's akin to it that is not directly what Sensei's Dividing Top is because it's so powerful. I think that it would be interesting if they just put Sensei's Dividing Top text on a creature, because then every time you flip it, it is then summoning sick, which means that it's susceptible to removal. It also would mean that it is not as good with Terminus, in that if I flip it and Terminus, I would then have to replay it and it is exposed as a creature. If you're playing it in those kind of control decks, there probably aren't going to be that many other creatures for your removal to hit. So it is going to have a glaring lightning rod on its head and probably not be very good. But in decks that aren't playing shit like that, it might be interesting that you can now play a creature deck that has some amount of deck manipulation and selection at the cost of power on the board. Similar to how Mom is exceptionally powerful, but it's a 1/1. It doesn't really get rumbling in combat. Yeah. I think there's space for that could be interesting, because the more and more we get into the space where blue always gets to do it all because it has Ponder and Brainstorm, you have certain things like Oath of Nissa and Adventurous Impulse and Green that limit the types of cards you can find. And those are really powerful selection tools, but there aren't the tools around that in the context of the format to really leverage those cards, even though they are kind of Ponder with upside. And that's my piece.
Fine. Okay. So let's go to a quick rant. I've got a rant. I want to talk about Alchemy real fast, man. Alchemy on Magic Arena. Some of you folks are playing Magic Arena. That's Hearthstone. And to me, what this is saying specifically about what's going on with design right now is, the fact that they can change the cards and stuff. Look, Arena's fine. I think it's fun to play Arena. I do it occasionally just to look at the new cards, do sealed and whatnot. What Alchemy is not Magic the Gathering. To me personally, that's my opinion. Whatever. But the idea that Wizards is going to slapdash some cards together and make you the player play test them for them so that they can make on the fly design changes is out of control insane to me. That is not that's just not Magic the Gathering. I feel like that's beta testing and not paying you to do it.
Yeah, so I am in a somewhat similar view, but I think I'm a little bit more lenient for 2 reasons.
Look, it's fun. I'm not mad about that. I'm just saying they're not paying us to beta test. We shouldn't be paying for those cards.
I say the reason that I'm okay with it is they recognize that they have a bunch of people who are going to play early on no matter what, and they want to continue feeding those mouths like with toys. And there's no way for them to test at the speed that they need to keep up with demand for new things, with how many new digital players they have, and the speed at which digital moves compared to paper.
Yeah.
Now,
to that end, I want to interrupt you for 1 second. That is why I don't play Hearthstone anymore, because Hearthstone gets boring very quickly because the card pool is so much smaller. And what happens is the format gets figured out immediately, and it takes them too long. It takes them Magic the Gathering ban times too long to figure out what they need to nerf in order to keep playing. Please finish what you're saying, though, Phil.
So in that vein, it's like I can understand if they're like, hey, there's no way we can play test at the speed that we would need to keep up with the demand that we know we need to supply. And in order to fix that, they're going to take the pioneer approach where they're like, look, we will actively make fast nerfs as we see fit. Know that up front. At least they're communicating that to us, right? Yeah. That is at least they're saying this is what it is. If you don't like it, don't do it. If you're cool with it, that's fine. That's the approach we're going to take. We've thought about it, but this is the route we're going to take. Do I agree with it? No, I think that like you should play test your own game and like know what you're putting out there. But at the same time, I can understand why they're making the decision. At least they're communicating it. I think you're right on that. Yeah, go on. I was going to say the other thing too, that at least for us players that have been playing paper for the majority of our lives, is that since Arena has come out, and then particularly when paper Magic was unavailable to the entire world for like a year and a half, the uptick in digital players was so vast and so lopsided at a speed that they probably didn't anticipate, that now there is a large portion of players that play the game that have never actually held a physical card and never will.
It's wild.
So now they have to. Now they're designing not only for paper players like us, but for entirely and strictly digital players that have no interest in playing paper. Those are two different sections of players that they have to supply for, the same way that any other game would have to supply for multiple different ways that you can play.
It's like Warhammer. You've got your 40K players, you got your fantasy players, or Age of Sigmar, as they call it now. But you have people that want to play different styles. And I'm not mad at that. I'm also not mad that it's not Magic. Like, look, I think that it is a smart business move by Hasbro / Wizards of the Coast. I think that in that part it's fine. I'm just saying, for me, that's not Magic. Will I play it? Perhaps, but it's not what I was looking for.
So I feel like we are in that, like the couple years in between where WotC's output of product is so much, like so overwhelming with so much product, that like Magic, the community as a whole, is going to have to get acclimated to the idea that when they come out with something, like before they would come out with 4 sets a year, right? And so you would look forward to when that set was going to come out. You get yourself hyped up. Preview season would be a big deal. Like if anything ever got leaked, it was crazy, right? Whereas now there's so much shit put out, and so many things where you're like, is this even real? I don't even know.
Yeah, you're not even sure if a spoiler is actual spoiler or not now.
Yeah. When they say when they like use the term that like may peeve some people, where they say this product isn't for you, I feel like we just have to get acclimated to the point where when you see a product, before you go, is this good or bad? Go, is this actually, like, is this targeting me or not?
Do I need to spend that money? You know,
like Alchemy was the first time where I was like, okay, I don't really play digital anymore now that paper is available. I just prefer playing in paper.
Yeah.
And I haven't played any historic. So when Alchemy was first spoiling these cards, I immediately was like, I recognize I'm never going to play these cards. So I'll look at them and see where their design space is, because I think that's fun to see where their heads are at. But this is never going to affect me because I know this product is not for me. And so now any Alchemy card that they're coming out with where I'm like, why would they do this? Or where are they going with that? Is that going to affect anything else? I'm like, I think it's entirely separate. It's not going to influence their paper designs. they're going to print products that are for me, and I'll enjoy those when they come out.
Yeah,
and be removed from it.
My biggest concern about this is not so much is whether or not this product is for me, is that it takes up the talk space of what Magic the Gathering is. And so like when I go and see like, oh, LSV wrote an article and he's like, oh, I wrote an article about this random card that is using rules that aren't even in Magic the Gathering. I'm like, I respect this guy. I like to read his articles and see what he's talking about. But now like half his articles, because he writes for a company that profits off of Magic the Gathering, he's got to cover that. I don't disparage him for covering that, but it's like, now I don't want to read that article in a ton of other stuff that like, I love reading his stuff, but that is just like, it's a bridge too far. That's my biggest complaint about that stuff. And it's not that big a complaint. Like, more content is not bad. I keep telling this to the Wheel of Time people. More content is not bad.
I would say that, going off your point, I think rather than it limiting, like it's limiting specifically what LSV could write about if he's just getting paid the most to write about that thing.
Yeah.
But with more, like you said, more content being a good thing, I think if people wanted more legacy specific, like written content, that means that there's an opportunity to be had there. I mean, you are somebody who has built shit from the ground up. I know that you recognize when a market is available and be like, there's a demand for this. I want to supply it.
Phil. I just write and let people decide if they want to hear me yell into the void.
You've done it by finding magic sites. You founded this podcast. Like, you've recognized that there is a demand for something and you can supply it. You've done it. You've done it multiple times.
You're giving me way too much credit.
I'm saying that, like, once again, if all of like the major sites are doing like what is the first step in for like whether it's standard content or alchemy content now, probably modern content because it's the most popular format. If there's just like a demand for legacy content, I mean, we see on Twitter a bunch of people will just write an article and then share it and be like, I wanted to put my thoughts together and then share it. If there was just a hub for that, if there was a site, like if we just came out with eternaldirtles.com and we're just a hub for people to submit their content to and we would post it for everybody to see,
it might
be time. But you know what I mean? Like it might actually be time for that, especially if you're looking at like Star City and Channel Fireball and like the major sites and going, the content that I would like to read about is just not being supplied.
Yeah.
The same way that TOs, I like community TOs, not WotC, I think should get into like the legacy game or the legacy tournament game, because there's clearly legacy players that are willing to travel and pay for events.
Yeah.
As we saw with the legacy pit, and we saw what would have been with the Missouri Open had it not been canceled due to COVID. Like, the demand is there. Like the demand is there. It just, the supply needs to catch up. And I think that there's availability for that. So like, I mean, this is the part where like, let us know, dear listeners.
Join the Patreon and tell us.
Post Malone, Adam Sandler. It's like, if you think that if you think it is worthwhile to like do something like that would make it, because like that's a lot of maintenance. It's a lot of maintenance, but like we could do it. I think we could do it.
Yeah, it's not impossible. I've proven it once before. Like for those of you who don't know, I founded Hipsters of the Coast. I no longer deal with Hipsters of the Coast, but like I could do that again in a heartbeat. Like it wouldn't take a whole lot. Like it was a minimal effort to me. To me, Magic the Gathering, the content I'm looking for is not so much format specific. It's having good times with your friends. That's all it is. Like, I had a big party with my buddies a couple months ago where we all met at a beach house and we played Magic for the entire weekend, played Commander, which is like, now it's like my second format. Like that's what I do now. I go on Spell Table and I play Commander with my friends. So it's hang out with your friends and having a good time. And if anything can, like, you can do that with anything, like it doesn't necessarily have to be even Magic. I'm playing a lot of Diablo 2 right now.
I mean, I'll be honest. I'm going to take a contrarian view here. I'm going to put all of my friends on the 8 crazy band. Get out of here. Everyone, you got to go. Get out. Yeah. Anyway, I agree. Yeah. I think that, like, with all of the new stuff coming out, if there's something that irks you, I think that just changing the frame a little bit to be like, why are they doing this? How could they do this? To be like, how can we do more to get actually what we want and be able to have those conversations with our friends and enjoy the game that we enjoyed playing. They have a lot of masters to deal with. Yeah. So there's more space for us to do whatever we want, and we can just do those things.
I think for me, what that whole like the what I call rant culture is like, I just wanted to get that off my chest. Now that it's off my chest, I don't care. Like, they can do whatever they want, and I'm not mad about it. And I think a lot of times people see someone like me doing a rant, just being like, "Wow, why?" And then I'm good. Like, after I get it out of my system, I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Like, you, Watsy, do whatever you want. You need to make money. You need to make money to keep making the game that I love, right? But some people read a rant or hear a rant like that, and they think, this guy's mad at the game. I'm like, no, I just had to get that stuff off my chest, and now I'm great. I'm happy that people are having fun with that. Like, I'm not, like, why would I be mad about that? That's a great thing. If people are having fun playing Magic, that means that, you know what? They're not thinking about all the other crap in their lives that's terrible, like going to work every day, or like dealing with like shitty relationships, or like your dad's crazy, or your mom's nuts, or like, like all the stuff that you would have to deal with on a daily basis. We get to live for a while in a fantasy land where wizards reign supreme, and you never really die. You just go back to 20 life and shuffle up and play again. Like, to me, that's a blast.
Well, I think
it's all friendship and rainbows over here, as far as
I think. I think friendship and rainbows should be the subtitle, and I think that was a good way to finish off our journey here on our holiday episode.
Yep. We will maybe, depending on what happens, post one more this year. I'll be on vacation a bit, so I'll try and chime in with Phil and get one more out this year. I know we slipped a little bit in the last couple of weeks. I'm very sorry for that. Holidays come up, and then I just get killed at work. But I want to get some more episodes out for you guys, and I hope to get something more steady going in the new year. For sure. If I don't talk to you guys before the new year, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. What else? I hope things are going well for all of you, and I hope you get to see your friends soon. I just got my third shot. I'm excited to finally see my dad after like a year and a half for Christmas.
Yeah, obviously get vaccinated, get the boosters. It's great. I got my booster. Yeah, I went when I was getting my booster. I was anticipating feeling like absolute dog shit. Like I
got knocked out.
But the third shot was no fever. You're a little achy. You're a little tired.
Man. Dude, you young man.
Dude, I
woke up feeling like I was 80.
Dude, my stout, like limber age of 22 really played in my favor here.
Oh yeah, it helps.
So
man, me at 33, I just couldn't handle it.
Yeah, you can't hack it anymore, man.
No, but yeah, no. At 41, I felt 41 and a half. Let me tell you.
Yeah, it definitely has those 6 months. You feel those 6 months a lot sooner.
Yeah, I got crushed, but I had some Gatorade, and I took some aspirin, and a day later I was feeling fine.
Dude, let us all pray that all these cards are going to go, and then we can go back to complaining about TNN.
Yeah, dude. We can
back in the good old days.
We'll bring back Nate to talk about how much treating him.
Back in the good old days when there was nothing to complain about.
Yeah.
When everything was great.
And final thought, I want to thank our Patreon supporters. You guys have been keeping it going for almost 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, join the Discord, everybody. Like that's just something you get to do.
We're on the Discord constantly. If you're not in the Discord, join it. You can always at me or Phil. It's Dirtle Magus and Force of Phil. And we'll add you. Like, I'll do it in a second. Like, just be respectful on there. We're all there to have a good time. All we're doing is BSing, talking about parody ideas, dropping brews, and it's a good time in there, actually. Especially right now, the folks that are in there, are a blast. It's a lot of fun to jump in there, and I'm there almost all day long because I'm at home at work. So I pop in from time to time to just make sure that if anybody said anything, I can respond. So I'm there a lot.
There and obviously also in the Discord, we're also always down to be talking deck list, brews, the whole shebang. So
or just definitely, weird, I'll talk about Wheel of Time. I'll talk about whatever.
It's also a lot easier to when we're recording, both finding time in our schedules to both hop on to record a cast during the holiday seasons. It's like schedules lining up was a little bit tighter, but we can just hop on Discord incidentally throughout the day. Chime in. So
hopping on Discord is a great place where we find a lot of ideas for future casts as well.
That is true. Yeah.
To that end, Phil, I wanted to ask you. I just started reading a new book series. Have you been reading anything recently? Have you been recording anything recently?
Yeah. So I have been recording a new audiobook recently. That should come out during the holiday season. Yeah. So back when I was doing audiobooks full time, I was recording.
Phil's a voice actor, everybody.
Yeah, I did a bunch of audiobooks for Audible. And one of the first books I ever recorded was a sci-fi adventure trilogy called Zombie Turkeys. And it was essentially a strain of zombie bacteria infected turkeys across the US and then was spreading, and we follow our heroes who try and stop that.
The Pilgrims.
Plague. Yeah, exactly. And so that author, it's comedy adventure. Obviously it's Zombie Turkeys. He wrote a couple more books, and so I did a couple more books, and then he just came out with his fourth in that. So the trilogy turned to a fourth book, and he just offered me, even though I'm not doing audiobooks full time anymore, he was like, "Hey, I got a fourth book. Do you want it?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it."
It's cool.
So that'll be coming out soon.
I gotta get you to do my audiobook. I've written a book. I just have to get you to do the audio portion.
Dude, if you want audio for your audiobook, I will record it in a nice sultry baritone for you.
That'd be great.
The other thing I've been doing is, do you remember the original Thran series?
Of course.
Oh yeah, I know you read those.
Are you rereading it or are you recording it?
No. I wish I were recording it. That'd be dope. No, I'm going back. With the Brothers War coming out, I thought it was now the time, because I have a Kindle, right? I can get any books that I want on there for $2, $5. So I decided I got all, what is it, 5 books?
The classics, of course.
All the classics.
Brothers War 1 and 2 and all the Thran stuff, right?
All the Thran stuff. So I got all those books, and I'm rereading my way through those, and that's going to be during my time off at the end of the year that I will spend. That's just going to be what I read through as we get to. I'm just going to read all those books in anticipation of Brothers War.
I am rereading, and then reading for the first time the Dragonlance series.
How's that?
It's great, man. Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman basically created this whole world in Dungeons and Dragons that was sort of really the first real campaign setting after Ravenloft. So think of Dragonlance as sort of Dragons of Tarkir, but way more medieval and way less the Mongols.
So more Sarkin. No. So more Tassiger, less Sarkin.
I would say, imagine it being more
Sarkin, less Zergo.
Oh man, it's fucked up because this is how it's going to sound. More realms of Forgotten Realms, Adventures of Forgotten Realms, and less Dragons of Tarkir. But more, there are no orcs in this world.
Oh,
there are Draconians, which are dragon people.
Oh yeah, I know Draconians. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I get that.
It's a really great thing. It's got a whole anti-hero thing where WotC put out a animated version of the first book. It might be on Netflix. But Kiefer Sutherland plays Rastlin, which is one of the main characters, and Michelle Trachtenberg, who I have acted with, plays one of the main characters as well.
Everybody remembers Michelle Trachtenberg from Eurotrip. Don't even act like you don't remember.
Shout out to Eric Higby for Scotty Doesn't Know.
Yeah. Oh, was it? Did he record? Was he the artist behind that?
No, Eric Higby, a good friend of the cast. Eric Higby did on my 37th birthday did karaoke. He'd never done karaoke before, but he chose to do Scotty Doesn't Know.
Perfect
Classic.
karaoke song.
So much fun. Great time. But anyhow, I watched that with my wife this year, and it was her first time ever watching Eurotrip. She knew about it, but she hadn't watched it. And she goes, Is that Matt Damon? And I was like, oh my God, she has no idea. And it happened, and she was like, what is happening right now?
Yeah. That was peak Matt Damon, actually. Yeah.
Peak Matt Damon. All right. Well, we should end this. It's been a blast. Phil, it's good hearing from you. It's been a minute. It's been great hanging out.
It's been great hanging out. Just wait until next time when I tell you where I've taken Miracles Now. Cemetery Illuminator, everybody. Look up that card. Look that card up. We'll talk about it next time.
All right. Have a good one, everybody. Fire design provocateur wrote Roseanne in 94. Morrow, Mark Rosewater. Fire design provocateur wrote Roseanne in 94. Morrow, Mark Rosewater. Fire design provocateur wrote Roseanne in 94. Morrow, Mark Rosewater. Come on, Morrow, what can you do? This is not a product for you. Tell us why, show us how. Look at these beebles, look at them now. Richard Garfield and Gary Gygax. Amateurs didn't make Climax, reserve the list. Drink their blood, come on, Mark, get 'em. Richard Garfield and Gary Gygax. Amateurs didn't make Climax, reserve the list. Drink their blood, come on, Mark, get 'em.